District 3, Commissioner Herbert.
Present.
District 4, Commissioner Forsyth.
Present.
District 6, Chair Shadid.
Present.
District 6, Commissioner Carpenter.
Present.
District 7, Commissioner Wheeler-Reagan. District 8, Commissioner Franklin. I know he's here. I saw him, he's here. Yeah. District 9, Commissioner Sleeper. District 10, Commissioner Housewright. Yes. District 11, Commissioner Nightingale.
Here.
District 12, Commissioner Hawk. District 13, Commissioner Hall.
Here.
District 14, Commissioner Kingston. And place 15, Vice Chair Rubin. Thank you. You have quorum, sir.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Commissioners. Today is Thursday, February 20th, 2025, 9:06 a.m. Welcome to the briefing of the Dallas City Plan Commission. Commissioners, as always, this is a time just for questions between commissioners and staff. We'll keep all our comments to the hearing this afternoon. We're going to jump right into the agenda. I'm sorry? Yeah, Commissioner Wheeler is online. I think we're going to do our minor amendments briefing per request. Do we have anyone that would like number 1 brief? Commissioner Carpenter?
Number 4.
Okay. Number 2, 3. Let's begin with briefing number 4. Thank you, Commissioner Carpenter.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is item number 4, case M234-032. This is a request for a minor amendment to an existing site plan, landscape plan, and traffic management plan on property zoned a TH2A Townhouse District. It is approximately 21.23 acres. The site is located south line of Maribeth Drive between Dickerson Street and Osage Plaza Parkway. It is located in District 12. This is the aerial zoning and land use map. So as you can see, to the north, we have single family. To the west, we also have single family. And then to the south, we have MU1. And then to the east, we have MF1A. The background is on October 1996, the SUP was established for a public school use. In March 97, there was a minor amendment to the site plan and landscape plan. In June 2019, City Council approved an amendment to the ordinance number 22928 for a public school other than an open enrollment charter school use. The current request is for a minor amendment to the site plan, landscape plan, and traffic management plan. So just wanted to make that clarification. For the request details, so for a minor amendment, when evaluating compliance with the standards for a minor amendment, the proposed plans must be compared to the original plans rather than the later amended plans. So with the current request, the applicant proposes the following changes. One is to modify the building footprint to add a approximately 620 square foot addition for a walk-in freezer. There will also be a all-weather track and practice field on the western portion of the site. There is a enclosed, as part of that, the track and practice field will be enclosed within a 6-foot chain link fence. The dumpster location will also be shifted to allow space for that walk-in freezer. And there are some trees that will be removed in order to accommodate the new track and practice field. And some of the trees will also be removed and replaced in regards to that. And then replacing any trees that are no longer in healthy growing conditions. And amend the text of the traffic management plan to provide the update. So here we have the original versus the proposed site plan. Here are the changes. So as you can see, the reconfiguring is only happening to this portion right here. And then this is the all-new track and practice field area. This is the proposed site plan. This is the original and proposed landscape plan. And so here is that residential buffer area that we were talking about for the landscaping. So some trees are removed, but then there are proposed replacements happening. And then this is the proposed landscape plan. And then this is the proposed traffic management plan. And staff recommendation is approval.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes, my question has to do, well, my concern, well, I have to ask this question. Did you have any concern that adding a track and practice and athletic field to this site that has very considerable residential adjacency, would that not be considered to alter the relationship of the development to the surrounding neighborhood?
So staff had evaluated that portion. We did discuss that, adding that track and practice field, but it did not, per our thing, it did not really seem to alter that basic relationship.
Okay, I see your point of view, but are you aware that frequently, sometimes, however often you want to say, in either PDs or in SUPs, when there are practice fields, athletic fields involved, either the SUP or the PD, if it goes through the regular zoning process, can be amended to include hours of operation or rules for lighting and prohibitions on amplified music, things like that. Did you not think that this project might be better served by going through the full zoning process and allowing the neighbors to have input, which they don't have during a minor amendment process?
I did not.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Rubin?
Can I just
One quick comment, please.
can I just add real quickly, the location of the field, the athletic field it's against pretty substantial roadways, and we're retaining the landscape buffer in those areas. So, and generally we consider the addition of athletic fields to be eligible under a minor. And so that's basically our thinking on that.
But, well, to clarify, but determining if something alters a basic relationship is ultimately a subjective determination.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Rubin?
Your report says all-weather track and practice field. What do you mean by all-weather?
So all weather is just like throughout the school year, it's just whatever purpose the track and practice field will be used. I don't have the explicit details on what will be the exact use, like in terms of sports or whatnot, but that would be in question for the applicant, if anything, yeah.
Thanks.
Commissioner Hampton?
I just had one follow-up, and I'm not sure if this is for Mr. Algier. It was mentioned that the landscape buffer is being retained. I don't see that called out on the site plan. Is that embedded within the PD conditions?
Let me see.
Or, excuse me, SUP. I was looking at the wrong case.
Yes, SUP, sorry, give me 1 second. So the only condition pertaining to the SUP ordinance is just landscaping must be provided as attached on the landscape plan, but I can point out where that is being shown. So right.
That grouping of trees?
Yes, right there, And yes, and as per that, the city arborist did review that, and they did, they had no objections to that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kingston?
Can you explain the legal standard for
what you do to consider something a minor amendment and what this body can do in terms of considering a minor amendment and rejecting something as a minor amendment?
Yes, I can. So let me see. So the criteria for a minor amendment to amendments of a SUP, it's A, altering the basic relationship of the proposed development to adjacent property. B, increase the number of dwelling units shown on the original site plan by more than 10%. C, increase the floor area shown on the original site plan by more than 5% or 1,000 square feet, whichever is less. D, increase the height shown on the original site plan. E, decrease the number of off-street parking spaces shown on the original site plan so as to create a traffic hazard or traffic congestion or fail to provide adequate parking. And F is reducing setbacks at the boundary of the site as specified by a building or setback line shown on the original site plan. So that would be for a site plan. And as for a minor amendment to the landscape plan, that would be A, reduce the perimeter landscape buffer strip shown on the original landscape plan. B, detrimentally affect the original landscape plan's aesthetic function relative to adjacent right-of-way or surrounding property. And C, detrimentally affect the original landscape plan's screening or buffering function.
And the second part of my question?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure.
Yeah.
If this body doesn't think that this qualifies as a minor amendment, what are our options?
I do not have that information with me.
You can recommend denial, and then it can be appealed to council.
Okay.
The body, if the question before the body today for this particular case is whether this particular proposal qualifies to be considered under the minor amendment criteria. And if the body determines that it does not, I mean, a motion could be made to recommend denial based on it not meeting that criteria, and then the applicant would have the opportunity to appeal to council on that question.
Thank you. We keeping that on consent, commissioners? Let's take it off consent. All right. Any other questions on this one? All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
It's okay. No, that's in a really tough spot.
Chair, I'm sorry, on item
Yes,
number
sir.
2, it's a pretty large expansion to the project. I would like it brief. I'm sorry, I missed that question.
Oh, you're fine. What number is that? Number 2? Let's brief
number
number 2,
two.
please. Thank you.
All right, morning, commissioners. This is M234-011. The request for this minor amendment is an existing development plan on property zone PD number 83, east line of Altoona Drive, northwest Ledbetter Drive, and approximately 1.97 acres. This is located in District 3. And this is our aerial and zoning / land use map. As you can see, it is surrounded by the north, undeveloped land, to the east, single family, and south, undeveloped, and right next to the west is multifamily, all still within PD 38. So some background for this, Plan Development District Number 38 was approved by City Council on December 11, 1967 on property previously zoned on R10 Single Family District. The area of request is currently developed with a church, Set Free Deliverance Church. PD number 38 requires City Plan Commission approval of detailed site plan, basic development plan prior to the issuance of building permit on an apartment tract. Although the requested property is developed with a church use because it is an apartment tract, a plan must be approved by the City Plan Commission before permit can be issued for the proposed addition. And on July 10th, 2014, City Plan Commission approved the original development plan allowing for development on the property with the existing church. And then for the current request, heading into request details, it's increasing the floor area by approximately 3,150 square feet, adding a structure behind the existing church building, and reconfiguring parking layout. No changes to the number of spaces provided, and parking requirements are met for the site. This is the original versus proposed. And this is just the enlarger version of the proposed site plan or / development plan. Staff recommendation is approval.
Thank you. Questions? Commissioner Herbert?
Yeah, just a couple. Doing these amendments, it seemed like they were enlarging the space by quite a bit. Can you explain how much of what they're trying to do here?
So they're making just a small gathering place right behind the church. They're not having any fixed seating, so it's just kind of an open floor plan.
And you said small, but I read in the report it was enlarging by 3,500 square feet. Is that accurate?
3,150 square feet, yes.
3,150. Okay. When looking at these minor amendments, do we look at the landscape plan at all or discuss the landscaping of the property?
For this one, they did not require a landscape plan to be submitted for City Plan Commission to see if it's a minor. So it would be taken care of through permitting.
Okay, thank you. My issue again, right, was the lackluster landscaping of the place, trees that have been removed and not replaced. There's a number of things when I drove by yesterday, but okay, thank you.
Can I?
Thank you, please.
Commissioner Herbert, I just wanted to point out that for the minor amendment process for a planned development district as opposed to an SUP, there's not a criteria based on how much floor area is added on a development plan attached to a PD, unlike is the case for an SUP. And then as far as the landscaping, what you're seeing on the plan here is not necessarily, I mean, when they go to permitting for this addition, landscaping requirements will be triggered by this addition. And so you should see as part of the construction of the building, additional landscaping being installed.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item, commissioners? Okay, takes us to number 5. Would anybody want number 5 briefed? Commissioner Hampton? No? Questions? I'm sorry? Commissioner Wheeler?
House right.
Commissioner Housewright, would you like this one briefed?
No, thank you. Sorry.
Yes, okay. Let's have that one brief, please.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
All right, this is item M245-001. The applicant, it's an application for approval of a site plan that does not comply with the design standards for large retail uses in section 51A-4.605 of the Dallas Development Code as amended. The use is a home improvement center, lumber, brick, building material, land sales yard use that's 100 square feet and more. It's located in the regional retail district. It is 11.88.12 acres, and it's in council district number 7. Here is the area of the property along in the boundaries of the city. It's close to Mesquite. Right east of it is the city of Mesquite. You'll see also in my area map. So the applicant is requesting City Plan Commission approval of a site plan allowing for 1, exception of the roof design, 2, exception of the screening requirements for outdoor display sales and storage areas, and 3, a variation to the design standards for screening at the garden center. So currently, there is a large retail building on the property that was built in 1966. Also, south of the property, there's also an auto-related use that was built in 1974. These 2 buildings will be demolished, and then the new big retail will actually be redeveloped on the site. And with that big retail being redeveloped, they have to comply with design standards for large retail big box stores. So here's my area review of the property. Here is the zoning map, actually showing the property highlighted, also showing surrounding uses. To the north, there's a auto display, an office, and also some warehouses in RR. Along the west, everything is RR, and there's also some retail, there's restaurant, there's personal service, and then also to the southwest, there is a large retail store. And then, as I stated earlier, to the east, the city of Mesquite, and there's some warehouses on the other side of Buckner. So for the request, the exception for the roof design. So the code says that for the roof design for big box stores, they have to have at least 1 of the 2 designs. And the first one is a parapet that has a horizontal top having a height change of at least 1 feet, occurring horizontally no less than every 100 feet. The parapets that do not have a horizontal top must have a pitch or round top with a pattern that repeats or varies no less than every 100 feet. All parapets must be detailed, such as cornices, molding trims, variations of brick and brick coursing. So for the slope roof, there's requirements for that. I put this on here even though they're not proposing this, but this is what the code said. The slope must have at least a 512. There must be 2 slope planes, and then also they must have a eave, overhang eave no more than 3 feet. So for the exception for the roof, the client is saying, the applicant is saying that their parapet wall, they are having a change of 1 feet, they are having a change of 1 feet, but it's less than 100 feet. And so also for the rear of the property, they're not doing any of the roof design standards. So their justification is that the raised parapet will require a change in tile pattern, color, texture, as well as removal of the portion of the horizontal branding stripe. The applicant is concerned about the competitive challenges of the loss of the branding caused by the removal of the horizontal stripe. They said they had attempted this design in previous stores, and it had a negative impact on customer recognition and sales. As I stated earlier, there's no parapet or overhang that's going to be proposed at the rear of the building. So here is a review. This is basically just a template from Home Depot, their standard design for their big box stores. They're showing the measurements of the change for the parapet wall, and at the rear too, there's nothing. So it's just going to be a slope, I think it's a metal building, so just a slope roof that has nothing at the rear. So for the exception number 2, for the screening requirements for outside display sales and storage area, the code says that merchandise may not be displayed or stored in parking lots or on sidewalks adjacent to the facade, except in screened outdoor display sales and storage areas. So the applicant saying staging of outside staging of outside displays along the facade, they do require that because that's their standard operation, and then also they will have seasonal sales that's in the parking lot. So they said that this would inhabit the brand standard operation, and the request exception allows for the operation to stage material with heavy equipment and allow customers to access those equipments. And so we'll actually see that in the site plan when I get to it. So the last one is the variation for the screening of the garden center, and the code says outdoor display sales and storage areas such as nursery departments must be enclosed by screening with a solid base with a minimum of 3 feet, submerged by a wrought-iron or tubular steel fence with a minimum height of 5 feet. The screening must be surmounted with a minimum of 2 feet of fascia with material and color matching the main building. No merchandise other than trees may be visible for the screening. So here is the applicant's request. So they're going to provide a 20 feet tall masonry columns matching the building along the north facade of the building. No other masonry columns will be provided in the front of the building or the rear of the building. They are going to provide expand metal mesh that's 0 to 12 feet, and architectural mesh is 12 feet to 20 feet, mounted on steel fence posts in lieu of the wrought iron or tubular steel. There's no screening wall will be provided. So instead of providing the base wall, they're actually going to do the columns, and in the front, they're just going to have screening with steel posts and fascia. So they stated that the request screening and design standards would inhibit the brand standard operation and disrupts customer sales at the garden center. The applicant believes that the proposed design that deviates from the compliance of the design standards also fit the spirit of the design standards laid out in the code. So here is the site plan. Here's a enlargement of the site plan, the north portion that calls out a different area. You can see the seasonal sales in the parking lot where they're going to place that. They also have some shed displays along Highway 30 closer, and then on the facade of the building, they'll show where they're actually going to do some staging and some storage of some material. And so the south of the property to the rear, you can see they have staging of some material. In the front, they have some display sales, a propane, and some more staging. And then to the south of the property, you see where they have their big, heavy trailers and different rental material that they're proposing to put on the site without screening. Here are from some few site photos, and I'm just going to go through here. This is the existing building. Here's that intersection of 30 and Buckner. And so staff recommendation is approval of a site plan allowing for one, the exception of the design standards, exception for the screening requirements for outside display sales, storage area, and also a variation to design standards for screening for the garden center. And that concludes this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions, commissioners? Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Ms. Blue. There are Home Depot stores all over Dallas. Does the design they're proposing of this store differ from anything else?
No, sir. So usually for big retail stores like Walmart and Home Depot, they actually come in and get a planned development district that exempts them. They can take out the design standards. Since they're going to go with base zoning where they're allowed by right in regional retail. They also have to comply with these design standards. So they feel that these 3 design standards is going to interrupt their operation as far as, the seasonal sales in the parking lot and items like that, and then also the branding of the company, the whole facade layout. So they're coming in for exception for these 3 items. All other items that's listed in the big box design standards, they will meet those at permitting. So this site plan is basically stating that these 2 exceptions and these variations, CPC is okay with them going forward with that, and the rest of the design standards they will have to comply with during permitting.
So do I understand correctly, they're not asking for anything different here than they have for other Home Depots?
So the difference is for the other no, not really. For the other Home Depots, they actually came in and created a planned development district.
Yeah.
And so whatever design standards that were listed, they might have complied with or they might have not complied with, but since, for PDs, you can take out the design standards and add your own design standards. But since
okay.
they're not creating a PD and they're going with the base zoning, they have these design standards that they have to comply with, and they felt like these 3 were the ones that they need an exception or variation from because it alters what they have previously done on other stores. That makes sense?
Yeah,
Or do I need to
I don't mean to be dense about this, but why didn't they request a PD?
I don't know.
Okay. All right, thank
I
you.
think that would be a question for the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Commissioner Housewright? We can't hear you, Commissioner.
Can't hear me?
We can now.
I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Commissioners, thank you very much. Let's keep going to our zoning cases. Our consent agenda consists of cases 6 through 18. And at this point, cases 6, 7, 11, 12, and maybe 13, I'm not sure. 14 and 17. Is 13 coming off consent, Commissioner? Okay. Okay. So it's 6, 7, 11, 12, maybe 13, and then 14 and 17. Okay, so 9 will come off, will be held.
6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17.
Yes, 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 17. Okay, let's begin with number 6.
Good morning, Commissioners. I assumed you wanted the case briefed.
Yes.
Okay, item Z223167 is an amendment to Plan Development District number 136 and its land use map. The current zoning, as I said, is PD number 136 that defaults to R7.5, which is a Chapter 51 zoning district. And it's located on the south corner of Winslow Avenue and Fairview Avenue. It is a little under 7,000 square foot lot. It has a rear alley and is currently undeveloped. It is in Parkview Owenwood neighborhood, just south of I-30 on the east side of town. This is the aerial and the land use map. You can see on the aerial map, you can see the sub-area request highlighted in red. It is surrounded by single family to the north and to the east. And to the south, the block is developed with single family and duplex uses. To the west, there are industrial and auto-related uses. On the zoning map, you can see that it is surrounded by PD 136, but also to the east, to the west, there is a CS community service or commercial service zoning district. A little bit of background, PD 136 was established in 1982 January. It is approximately 23 acres. As I said, it defaults to R7.5, but it has an exception saying that the lots indicated on the land use map can have different type of uses as duplex, and it has selected development standards that are modified as opposed to the base zoning. There is one lot that is indicated to be developed with multifamily, and there are a bunch of lots that are indicated to be vacant. This area of request is indicated on the land use map as a single-family lot. Oh, I have the background slides twice. Just few pictures from the site. I, again, chose to put Google views just because the views or the pictures are better quality and higher. The situation is the same. I have pictures from the site if you want me to share. As I said, this is a corner lot that is currently undeveloped. This is a view from the intersection. North of it is also a park. This is a historical view. In May 2018, it shows that the lot was developed with a single-family home, and you can see this, how it looked like. This is a view from the back or from Winslow Avenue, the side street, and it also shows the current alley that's in the back. I'm going to deep dive a little bit into the history or to explain a little bit this lot and its configuration because it's pretty peculiar. The request in front of us also is to modify the standards, the lot size and the lot width, just to match its current condition because the current condition of the lot is non-conforming. So as you can see, like it's highlighted in red, but all the lots on the block, some of them, this has a peculiar shape. The one to the east has a peculiar shape and some to the south as well. Just a history, and this is included in the staff report as well, on how these lots evolved. You see Fairview Avenue had a different configuration, and the lot, when this was platted a long time ago, was completely different. In the meantime, as you can see, the black lines on the plat map. This is a more recent plat map that shows that Fairview Avenue changed its configuration, and basically this corner was taken away from these lots. And then per the property survey, you will see that actually these two lots, 1 and 2, their property line is not as it's shown on the plat map. This is just to explain that in order for both of these lots, what's shown 1 and 2 in here, the way they are configured right now to be built, they will have to prove a legal build site at permitting. And to explain that the intent of the proposed amendments to the text were just to make sure that if this is approved and goes to permitting, they will be able to pull a permit or to plat the property, which is what we want. We ultimately want all the properties in the city to be platted. This is the property survey, and you will see per the survey, the front property line is 33 feet in width, and then the square footage of the lot is 6,777 square feet. This is an aerial just to explain a little bit better what I just said. This PD was, switching gears a little bit, was created as a result of what was in 1981 November, an area plan for 3 neighborhoods in the city, Mount Auburn, Santa Fe, and Parkview neighborhood. These are the recommendations of the area plan, and the area plan recommended what became the PD 136 right now, but you will see it had the intent to have stability of zoning, to allow mixed and higher densities in this inner city area. So it recognized it as an inner city area as such, to maintain the existing character, to allow infill on number of lots. They also mentioned affordable housing needs back then into 1981. And densities greater than an R75 standards, and then also recommended conditions and standards that will encourage continuance of existing uses and densities. This is the land use map for PD 136, and you can see there are different type of dots, the rare or more rare, that basically designate each property, each lot in this PD to be either single-family, duplex, or vacant land. Our area of request, even in this PD configuration, you will see that it has the lot has a different configuration, just for me trying to explain why we are proposing, or the applicant is requesting some changes to the text just to make sure that their non-conforming lot can be developed. This is a side-by-side comparison between the PD 136 land use map when it was created in 1982, and this is how it looks like on our zoning map right now. You can see that this little corner here was actually taken away and transformed into a P district, and apparently some of the properties were also added to PD 136. Just to explain, the PD 136 was amended before. What we've done to make it easier to navigate is, in case this passes, we will digitize the land use map and add it on our GIS map, and we did a color coding, the same we did with PD 134. This is just a recap of the entire PD. What you can see in gray are the vacant lots that were shown as vacant when the PD was created, and what you see in orange are the duplex ones. And then obviously yellow is single family, and you'll see our corner lot, the area of request, highlighted in red. And you see that half of the southern half of the lot of the block actually, per the original PD, allowed duplex uses. And then I am highlighting and stressing on the vacant land because the vacant lots, as shown on the original land use map, can be developed with single family or duplex. And you have a breakdown on lots. By my count, if I'm off by few, just don't hold me very accountable because I counted by hand. Just a little zoom in on the area of request as well. Back to the aerial map, and I highlighted which are the duplex uses in the block and across. You can see them on the aerial map as well. You can see some of the lots are still vacant and undeveloped. Now, development standards, I explained them. There's a table in the staff report. PD 136 generally defaults to R7.5, Chapter 51. I put a duplex district standards as a comparison, so we can all see that a duplex in PD 136 doesn't mean development standards for the duplex district. So you see PD 136 has actually a front yard that it's smaller than R75, which is 10. Side yards and rear yards stay the same. The height is 30 feet, and that stays the same. And these are the standards for a duplex or a single family, which is not as other base code. So for this PD, duplex and single family has the same development standards. This PD allows smaller lots. R75, as you know, allows 7 or says that minimum lot size must be 7,500. This PD allows 7,250. And this is one of the changes to the text to actually establish the existing lot as confirming to allow them to be platted. And then the lot width, this PD requires to be 50, and R75 requires 55. So again, this PD acknowledges smaller lots, the existing configuration. And because this lot is peculiar, the proposal or the request is to allow 33 feet to just allow the lot to be developed. What I just said is basically highlighted on the next slides, and how we propose to amend the PD conditions to only refer to this lot specifically. I also wanted to make a distinction that the lot width is not the property line width, is measured at the front setback line. So I put 33 feet in there, but I think if we are to measure, probably this lot has a width of like 40 something, 45 or something. But because we don't have construction plans, I just went with the property line. And with this being said, staff recommendation is approval subject to amended land use map and conditions.
Thank you very much. Questions, Commissioners? Commissioner Hampton?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Drea. I know we've had some conversations on this. Thank you for covering a lot of this. The PD, you mentioned that history came out of a holistic review with planning staff, ultimately recommended a PD for this area. Are you aware of what the zoning was prior to the establishment of the PD?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will go back and look, but I assume it was R75 and it was some industrial as well.
And right, and I think that is reflected in the case report, and as you went through it, the historic pattern has been the single family and duplex. But it was overlaid, I believe, with townhouse, and then prior to the PD, I believe the area plan indicated industrial. Is that correct?
I think so. I'll go back and I'll verify that, and I
Okay.
can even bring the area plan if need be.
And do you recall if that happened at the time that I-30 was constructed? Was that in that general time period?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
I believe you.
Thank you. Well, and I thank you. For those who don't have it, we do have the 1980 report. It's on a mimeograph and was typed at the time. So, south of this area, the industrial zoning still exists. There's CS that is immediately adjacent, and then IM that's just beyond that. And so,
Yes.
is that I think it's a towing company that's immediately adjacent to the property. There's a packaging plant that's in close proximity to our existing residential. Is that all still what's on the ground today?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Correct.
And thank you for also pointing out, so at the time that this PD was adopted, and even, back to 2018, I think it may have been even into the 2020s, there was a house on this lot.
Yeah, I went through the historical aerial views. I think, I don't know if the house that I showed on my pictures is the original house that was there in 1982, but it is an accurate statement that I could find only proof of a single-family house on this property.
And is it correct that analysis had done an assessment of the properties, trying to help give some context as an earlier version of this body was adopting the PD?
Oh, I couldn't follow the question, I'm sorry.
Well, there was a condition summary that was included in the area plan for all the housing. There was a chart that talked about.
Yes, and the area plan also has very specific recommendations on how the PD should be written, yes. And this PD, I think, is referred to as Area 2 or Subdistrict 2, which gives some conflicting language in the PD, by the way.
Yeah, and I think my notes were it was 1A, but yes, they evaluated a number of areas for context. We have retail, other things even in this PD. In your case report, you included the information on the Neighborhood Plus plan. Was this area part of that Neighborhood Plus?
I think so. I will go and revisit. I think so. I think the intent was to just refer a little bit to the Fort Dallas that was back then.
Okay, I'm familiar with Neighborhood Plus because there were some communities in District 2, and I didn't see Owenwood being listed.
This is a focus area, yes. I don't think it is.
Okay, and so one of the questions related to that, and it was a question I'd gotten from some stakeholders, was, there's been a lot of city initiatives in this area, is that correct? From this area plan, there's a community block grant. I think currently it has some homeowner assistance programs that it's a target area. Are you aware of those other city programs?
No, and I wouldn't check that with zoning. No, I'm not, but I
Okay.
can verify, of course, with the housing department.
Okay, and then I think one of the items that was noted had to do with affordability and how new uses were compatible with the area. You mentioned that the development standards are the R75, some modifications. In your photos that you had, does that reflect the scale and character of the housing that exists today?
If I understand your question correctly, the development standards in the PD allow bigger bulk and mass than what is built today. So if a single family home is built on this, is gonna look significantly different than the single family home next door.
And that applies to both. Again, duplex is
Yes.
a little bit lower because it also has to follow the R75 standards as modified. But any new construction is going to be larger than the historic development pattern.
Absolutely, yes.
And there's been a few houses that are modified. I think I saw two-story houses when I toured the community, but by and large, they're one-story frame bungalow style. Is that what
Yes,
you observed?
they're smaller houses, one story, that's the general feel of the neighborhood, yes.
So I know we've had a lot of conversations as we're trying to look at new development on what might be appropriate development standards. Did you have any conversations with the applicant on whether those types of considerations might be appropriate for this site?
No, we just looked at the existing PD and what can be done. No, I did not ask for development standards or suggested any because there aren't, for similar duplexes in the area, there aren't any.
I want to make sure I understand, because that was actually my next question, was the duplexes that are on the ground today, those are still that sort of smaller footprint, one story, smaller housing, but that wasn't anything that was reviewed with the applicant?
I see what you're saying, but if a duplex owner on the existing duplex lot tears it down and wants to rebuild a new one, they wouldn't have design standards, so
No.
they will max out. So in fairness, that's how I looked at it. If, let's say, all the existing lots that are designated as duplex right now will be redeveloped, they will be redeveloped under the standards of the PD.
No, understood, and thank you. That was actually going to be one of my other questions, was that as I read the PD, and I think you mentioned this in your briefing, that where there's existing duplex lots, anything can be redeveloped in the PD, but existing vacant lots can be developed with either single-family or duplex.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, and so if this, it wouldn't have come before us if this was on one of the vacant lots, because they could have simply gone to building permit, gotten their permit for a duplex, and as long as they're compliant with the PD, nothing would have come before this body.
Yes, and that is the point that I'm trying to make in here, to say that cumulatively, 12 lots are designated as duplex, but the ones that are designated as vacant lots can become duplexes later. Also, the PD, and to my knowledge, I didn't do any historical inquiries, the PD also includes another statement to say that if a lot can bring in a proof that at any time in its existence was a duplex, they can convert back to being a duplex. So suffice to say that it is fluid.
Yeah, right, and I think I know a number of our older areas of town that I think have that similar language, because there had been so much variation over time. Do you know roughly, and I guess I can do the math here, what the percentage of duplex is, what the percentage of vacant lots are?
I am returning back to the land use map, because that's the entitlement that's on the land, and that's why I did the calculation. Is 63 are indicated as single family, 12 is indicated as duplex, and 17 are indicated as vacant.
And I will say, it looks like the number of lots may vary from what was in their previous plan. And I know you and I have talked about, now that we're digitizing, making sure that we have all of these aligned. But I think roughly it was 16% were duplex. I think there was about 12% that were vacant. And so again, right around 30%, 33% potentially could have.
A duplex, yes.
Okay, thank you. So where the duplexes are located, they're really clustered on Kenmore Street, just south of Fairview. Is that correct? I think that's what the map is showing here.
That's what the map is showing, yes.
Right. And so there's, sprinkled within. Do you know if that's fairly common in older parts of town where duplexes would be clustered within different areas? Have you seen that pattern elsewhere?
Sure, in my neighborhood.
Well, and I guess some of our other land use maps where we've had these types of discussions, there always seems to be a little bit of a pattern about where duplexes were oriented. I was just curious if you had observed that.
It depends. If the duplex is an allowed use, and I'm highly speculating right now, which I don't like. So let's say you have a D zoning district, probably if the market is so thirsty for duplexes, instead of developing single family, you would develop a duplex. And the same for multifamily. Like my part of town where I live, is zoning is MF. Of course, like it's less single family, because if the market is so thirsty for more density, that is going to deliver a little bit more density.
Thank you. I think I have a few other questions, but I know other commissioners may have some. Is it correct, we talked a little bit about development standards. I think the community has reached out regarding thinking about this area holistically as we're starting to have discussions about redevelopment. Have they contacted you, or are you aware with the gentrification pressures that they're experiencing, that's something that the community was interested in reviewing with staff?
So as our department, we have been contacted by you and Councilmember Office to discuss about these 3 PDs and see what solutions can we find from a larger holistic point of view. So yes, discussions have been initiated. We have internal talks. Yes.
Thank you. And related to that, I know you specifically, we've got one area request before us and tried to address the question on the lot size. Is it correct that there's other lots that are also within this PD that are going to have similar challenges between the lot size and the frontages? And I guess my question would be, are you aware that in other older plan developments that we have instituted language that just helps codify all of those to help facilitate owners and redevelopments of property?
So if I understand the question correctly, yes, it is very common in older parts of town to have non-conforming lots. That is actually the problem with having such high lot sizes requirements. In this instance specifically, that's why I created this slide, you can see that both of these properties, when they redraw their property lines, became non-conforming. Like this subject area is over 6,500 square feet, and the lot that is the reminder to the east now is, per DCAD, is 5,800. I was also eyeballing looking at the lot in the back, these little corner lots here, those are for sure under 7,200. So there are a lot, it's pretty common, but as I said, our code in situations like this will allow you to recognize a legal build site, and that's how you're going to pull a permit.
And that's exactly it. That's what the geography of the street grids, there's a lot of moving parts in this area. And so I know I'm familiar with other PDs that codify that legal building sites that allow for that variation. So I'll defer to my other commissioners who may have questions. Thank you, Dr. Udrea. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall.
Dr. Udrea, the existing duplexes, any idea when they were built?
They look older, like I can go on DCAD and put a year per DCAD, but they look that they were built probably in the 80s or even before. So it looks, I would say, again, speculative. I can do that research right now. Speculative, I would say that the intent of the land use map when it was created in '82 was to allow existing duplexes to continue.
So my understanding from what I heard is that these would be significantly smaller than what a new duplex.
They are significantly smaller than what the entitlement on the lot is. The entitlement on the lot allows a bigger massing, but they were built smaller, so that's how they continue to exist.
The trend of building duplexes in these neighborhoods seems to be bigger.
The same for yes, absolutely, the same for single-family houses as well.
And the neighborhood opposition to these duplexes seems to be their design, the way they're designed, and their lack of yard space and so forth. But I don't know how much we control over that. But I guess the impression that I have that any new duplex that would be built would look significantly different than the ones that are existing on the ground today.
Yes, without a, I would say, it's, again, it's our assumption that a new duplex that would be built, if they are to maximize their existing entitlements, will look different. But I would say same applies to a single-family house. So if this lot will be developed with a single-family house, that would also, has the potential to look significantly different.
Yes, well, that was my next question. If there was going to be a single-family home built there, surely it would not look like a bungalow. It would be a bigger two-story,
If the
thousands
developer,
of square
yes,
feet
if
home.
the owner, developer chooses to maximize on their existing entitlements, yes.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that any kind of new development is going to look out of character with what's on the ground today. So, okay. Would this lot have to be replatted down the road?
That's what I was trying to say. There are two ways to obtain a building permit. You prove a legal build site or you replat it. But in order for you to replat it, it needs to confirm with the zoning. And because the zoning requires the minimum lot size to be 7,250 and the lot is smaller, I don't know if it can be replatted. But in order to pull a building permit, you can prove a legal build site, meaning if a house was built on the lot, or if the lot was built legally at any point, that is your legal build site, and you can continue to use it as such. But I don't think that this would be, in its current configuration, would be able to be platted.
So looking at the map that you have displayed here, the lot, it's a four-sided, odd-shaped lot. It has, it's along two streets, though. Where would what's the front? Where's the front? Is it on the very short side that's 40 feet?
Yes, the front would be Fairview, is per code is the narrower side is the one that's considered a front.
Okay. So if a duplex was built on this site, parking would have to take place within that 40 feet?
No, they have the option to load it from the back because they have, that's my point, they have an alley that looks improved in the back, and they also have the option to have an access from Winslow. So I would say that probably the design or the way the lot is shaped, I think it lends better to have access either directly from the alley or from Winslow Avenue.
Alley access might be more, neighbors might prefer something like alley access on this, but,
Yes,
okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners? Okay, let's keep going. Go to case number 7. That has been taken off consent.
Do you want this item briefed?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, commissioners, let's table this one for the moment. We'll come back.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's go to number 8.
Hi, Mr. Chair and
Yes, good morning.
Commissioners. Good morning. There's a correction that I did want to point out, but are you wanting this one to be briefed or just, or for me just to go over the two corrections in the report?
We can do a brief per request. Commissioner Herbert, would you like this one briefed?
Yes, please.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, let me share my screen. Let's see. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, let me get. Okay, this is Z234246. There might be a delay, I'm sorry. Let's see. Okay, here we go. This is an amendment and renewal of specific use permit number 2170. And the property is zoned RR Regional Retail. And the amendment and renewal is to allow for the continuation of the open enrollment charter school. And this is located on the north line of West Camp Wisdom Road and west line of I-35E. The site is approximately 19 acres. Here I have the location map and the aerial. You can see it's pretty far south Dallas, and that is one of the corrections I just want to point out. On page 2, I think just in the bullet points, it says located in West Dallas. Sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened. For some reason, the edits didn't make it into the final version of the report. Okay, again, the aerial map showing with the zoning and land use map. As you can see, the site is all institutional because it has the existing Uplift Camp Wisdom School. And it's largely surrounded, at least on 3 sides, as you can see, by single family. And then it has some commercial mini warehouse immediately south and at the corner of, excuse me, at the corner of Camp Wisdom and 35. There's a McDonald's restaurant with drive-through service also off of Camp Wisdom. That's immediately adjacent to the site. That's the McDonald's. And then across Camp Wisdom, there's commercial as well. There's a small hotel and a small mini warehouse. So some of the background, back in 2016, City Council did approve the specific use permit for the open enrollment charter school for a 5-year period with eligibility for automatic renewal for additional 10-year periods. Then in 2020, the applicant filed the application for the automatic renewal of the SUP, but unfortunately, it was past the date that is required for eligibility for automatic renewal. It was accepted, and staff also found during that review at that time that the traffic study that was to be submitted had not been submitted, during the during that time, but they did. That kind of pulled them into the public hearing process again, and the standard renewal process. It went before the bodies, went before you and City Council, and City Council did approve that SUP for a 2-year period at that time. So, I'm sorry. So the applicant is proposing renewal again with no changes to the actual site plan. And of course, the traffic management plan has been submitted. They submitted it back and was got approved back in 2022. The next one that was required was due November 1st of 2024, that has been submitted and has been reviewed by traffic and been approved for this request. Some of the photos looking basically off I-35 into the site. This is looking to the north towards the residential also. That's just immediately to the north of the site. Some more photos looking off of 35 to the south, looking north off of Camp Wisdom, northwest off Camp Wisdom, and then some surrounding uses off of the site. Being across the freeway. Again, back on Camp Wisdom, looking west, southeast, east. This is the site plan. Again, they're not proposing any changes on the site plan at this time. This is still what they want to go with going forward. Some of the proposed SUP conditions, we have some changes in here, some modifications. One, the staff is recommending approval of the SUP with the amended site plan, traffic management planning, and amended conditions. So no time frame. We were removing that. Just some renumbering, taking out the standard classroom, number of classrooms. We're really not looking at that anymore for the public schools. So we're wanting to treat, of course, the open enrollment schools the same as the public schools, what we've been doing more recently. Same with the ball fields. It's more operational. We are adding in the sidewalks and pedestrian paths, should they have some changes to the sidewalk for repairs. And they have agreed, the applicant has agreed that they would go ahead and put in that minimum 6-foot wide unobstructed sidewalk located minimum of 5 feet from the curb along the length of the property, abutting the streets as required. And then same with the pedestrian pathways, they have agreed to do that as well, where possible. This is the standard language. Again, it's for the most part, but again, they are agreeing to a minimum 4-foot wide permeable paving unobstructed pathway required to connect that primary entrance of the main buildings, located no more than 65 feet from a connected pathway. So this is all pretty standard, what we've been doing lately. And again, the applicant has agreed to do that. Again, and that's if they make any changes to the property with regards to the sidewalk, need of a sidewalk. Pedestrian amenities, also they're agreeing to put in the pedestrian amenities at the regular intervals not to exceed 200 feet with the bench, trash receptacle, and bike rack. Again, that's, if they're making any changes. Traffic management plan, just really changing the dates in here. This is more language that is pretty customary, standard for what we've been doing with all the schools. And parking, we're just taking out the parking as shown on the plan and letting that, fall back on the whatever is required for parking. Fences, we're also putting in the language for the fences that, if they were to put in a fence, that would be the 50% open and 20 feet from the back of the street curb. And again, that's pretty standard, what we've been doing for the schools. We're just trying to treat them the same as the public schools. And so staff is recommending approval subject to the site plan, amended traffic management plan, and the amended conditions. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions for you.
Thank you very much. Questions? Commissioner
Yeah, thank you.
Herbert.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Lady Lori, are you aware that there was a huge neighborhood contingent when this school was proposed and built, and then again in its review of its traffic management plan and SUP?
I am aware of that. That has been some years ago, and it's, I've been told that since then there's not been any issues with regards to the traffic management plans. Things are flowing well. Things are working as they should be, per that periodic review of the traffic, the TMP, the traffic management plan, per that process since that time.
Right, thank you. Were you aware that some of the concerns were about the Camp Wisdom and how the property will interact with the major thoroughfare then?
I really wasn't exactly aware of the specifics, but again, I'm very aware of the dynamics with the residential adjacency in the neighborhood. But again, it's my understanding that everything's working well now.
So, yes, understood. Thank you. So what I'm getting to is the landscaping on Camp Wisdom, again, is lackluster, and there was a lot of promises made. The fence is kind of in disrepair in certain sections. Has that been spoken of by the applicant at all?
No, there's, nothing that has been addressed as far as that. Again, we did talk about the pedestrian amenities and those type things. And they said they would be amenable to, if anything needs to be repaired or putting in those amenities. But we really didn't discuss the landscaping. Of course, that's part of enforcement. If there's any landscaping that's not, not meeting the landscaping requirements, then, of course, they do have to, they are obligated to take care of that. And same with any required fencing.
Do you have, or can you produce what the landscape requirements specifically for that Camp Wisdom area of this plan, either now or before the hearing?
I can get that. I can get that for you before the hearing. Yeah, let me get that before the hearing. I know, Article 10 has some requirements, of course, for street trees and
There are absolutely none planted there, so I just want to make sure if someone's responsible for planting trees there, that we hold them responsible. Because a major part of this was beautifying the area for the neighbors who conceded a lot during this time. So I want to make sure we're holding that to the fire. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Carpenter.
Ms. Levy, the last time this SUP was renewed, it was for a 2-year period, primarily because of the traffic management issues, which I understand have been largely resolved, although not completely. But did I understand you to say now that this applicant both missed the application timeframe to get in their renewal and also did not submit the required amended traffic management plan?
That was in the past. They did turn in, since that last time it was approved, they have followed through with the periodic, requirement for the TMP updates.
The last
And so
TMP did get submitted in a timely manner?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. One other question. What was the reason for removing the SUP condition that limited the hours that the playing field could be used? Was there a community meeting to discuss this?
I believe that the applicant has met with the community, I believe. Actually, staff removed that because, again, we're not really, we're just treating it the same as the public schools, and we're not, and that's part of the operations. So
The SUP process allows us to customize conditions that are site-specific.
yes,
So staff just decided to remove that because that's going to be their general policy now?
that has been more standard for, just having the operations, having the schools and the businesses can
All right, thank
handle
you.
the operations. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item, commissioners? Okay, we'll keep going. Item number 9 is going to be held under advisement to March 6th. March 6th. We will brief it then. Do we need to brief number 10? Would anybody like number 10 brief? Commissioner Hall, would you like it brief, sir? Okay. Number 11 is going to be held under advisement to March 20th. No briefing today. Thank you. Before you step out, do we need it briefed? Number 12, excuse me. Any request? Okay, we'll go to 13 then. And yes, for the record, Commissioner Carpenter has a conflict number 12 and will not be voting on it. 13, I think we do need a brief. Commissioner Forsythe has some questions on that, but before we do, let's take a quick coffee break, 5 minutes at 10:27 a.m. Good morning, Mr. Bate.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is item case Z234-344. It is an application for an MF2A multifamily district on property zoned in R7.5A single-family district on the northeast line of Arrow Road, north of Sutherland Avenue, approximately 11,200 square feet in size. Here it is located kind of south central part of the city. Here's an aerial map showing the area of request. The area of request highlighted in yellow here. This is the zoning map of what's adjacent to it. So it is within the R7.5A zoning. This is a largely undeveloped area, and I'll get to that in a second. Then to the northeast, there is a IR industrial research district. The adjacent property is undeveloped, and then to the southeast is an MF2A district, also undeveloped. Further on along Keast Boulevard, there's some MU3, IR, and NSA. This particular tract, or this area here, that is to the immediate southwest of the site, it looks like it's platted because it is platted, but the area is undeveloped. My understanding is, I actually have a zoning case involving that as well, but my understanding is it was platted way back in the late 2000s. As we all know, things changed in the late 2000s, and whoever was going to develop it no longer could develop it. So it's platted. It looks like there are lots and even roads dedicated there, but right now it's a large, just green field. So the site is currently undeveloped. The applicant wishes to develop single-family units with a small lot configuration. As such, they're requesting the MF2A multifamily district. Here's the site. We're on Arrow Road looking northeast, and it's a pretty straightforward look. In the background here, you see that large green field. That's that MF2A district that I mentioned. Then southeast on Arrow Road, southwest looking towards that greenfield site that is platted but undeveloped. Looking west, looking northwest, northeast, and southeast more into the site itself. This is a comparison of the development standards between R75 and MF2A. The setbacks would be one of the first changes here. So the front setback would be 15 feet, but because of RPS, you do have a 25-foot front yard setback that would apply to the lot. For single family, there is no side or rear setback requirements. The FAR, dwelling unit density, there's no max for that, regardless of the type of development. And the minimum lot size for single family is 1,000 square feet, which was the impetus for requesting MF2 rather than MF1. If I'm not mistaken, MF1, the minimum lot size for single family there is 3,000 square feet. The max height is 36 feet, however, RPS does apply. As such, it would be limited to about 26 feet in height. The lot coverage does increase to 60%. The primary use, of course, for the multifamily district is multifamily, but it does allow for single family and duplex uses as well. We find that the area, it is largely undeveloped. It is adjacent to an existing MF2A district and an IR district. We do think that the MF2 district would be appropriate for the development of small lot single family housing. Staff's recommendation is approval.
Commissioner Forsyth, question.
My first question actually just arises from your presentation. Is there any type of issues with the land in this area? You know, the reason, I guess I'm wondering why all these lots are undeveloped and have been undeveloped for so long. Is there any kind of floodplain issues here?
I'm not aware of any floodplain issues that are present there. I'd be happy to pull up our zoning map to confirm, but I'm not aware of any other issues with the land. I would imagine it's just been typical real estate kind of market economics issues where it just hasn't been viable to develop until recently. But let me pull this up real quick to confirm the floodplain.
Any other questions on this item? Please, my apologies.
I was waiting for him.
Sorry about that.
1 second. So looking at our floodplain map, does not want to cooperate. Looking at the floodplain map, the area of request, it is not within a floodplain. There is a small sliver of floodplain that extends out further past. So if we go back to the zoning map, it looks like there's a small sliver of the 0.2% annual chance flood hazard that goes into sort of this sliver here. I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but it goes into there, but it's a very small stretch. Most of the floodplain along there is kind of concentrated along East Keys Boulevard.
The other question I had is, in reading your case report, you indicate that the owner, Mr. Garcia, plans to build 4 units. And I think the lot size is 11,200 square feet. So was there consideration given to a lesser, density rezoning, like, for instance, rezoning to Townhome 1 district rather than the MF2 district?
My understanding, from when I did bring it up with the applicant, we did discuss the TH district. He did want the smaller lot size, I think, just as a sort of a, you can say, a buffer, just to have some room to work with. When he goes to, so if this were to be granted, he would then go to subdivisions for platting and replatting. At that point, he would need to provide a plat that shows kind of your different dedications, your driveways and whatnot. And so I think having the MF2, it does provide some flexibility in terms of that configuration of those lots. He could certainly be entitled to build more than 4 units, but it kind of depends on what the final dedications are at platting for various rights of way, utility easements, driveways, that sort of thing. But I think that you could potentially use a slightly less intensive district if possible.
But he did indicate that he's planning to build a single-family home. Right?
Yes. It would be, I think, a few single-family homes, but yes, there would be single lots for each.
Could he do that with the TH1 zoning? Because TH1 zoning, from what I read, limits it to 6 units at the most. And with MF2, there's no limit. So that's why I just...
Sure. Let me do a quick calculation here. The thing that gets tough with TH districts is that dwelling unit density, where it is per acre. And 6 dwelling units per acre, it kind of sounds like it would be sufficient, but sometimes it can be, you run out of the space quicker than you think. So it's about 1/4 of an acre. So at TH1 with 6 dwelling units per acre, if I'm doing my math right, quarter acre, quarter of that, you get 1.5 dwelling units out of that. I think you would need you would probably need the TH3 district to be able to get to, per my math here, you can get 3 dwelling units out of that with the 12 dwelling unit per acre density, because again, there's a.
You could only get 3 dwelling units even with the TH3, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hall?
Mr. Bate, looking at the current Google Maps, it looks like that lot's already been cleared. Was that your impression when you were out there?
Yes, when I was out there, it looked pretty cleared. These photos were taken a few months ago, but there were some trees, there was some dirt, gravel. I wouldn't say it looked improved upon or anything, but it wasn't fully green either compared to, say, that huge, well, not tract of land because there's several lots, but the large plot of land immediately to the southwest that I mentioned that's been platted. That looks fully untouched, whereas this looks like it's been maybe worked on a bit. But
yeah, just looking at Google, it looks like maybe they're doing some prep work for maybe for this development. Thank you.
Yes, and it could have been done in the interim. I don't know when those satellite images were taken. I would have done this site visit around mid-November. I'd have to check my calendar to confirm, but probably mid-November. So certainly they could have done some improvements or site prep in the interim.
Any other questions on this item, commissioners? Would you like to keep it on consent, Commissioner, or take it off? Keep it on consent, okay. We will go to number 14. Let the record reflect that Commissioner Hawk has a conflict on this item. Do we need it briefed? Yes, let's brief it. So Commissioner Hawk has logged off. We'll brief number 6. Sorry, number 14 in District 6.
Morning again, commissioners.
Good morning.
All right, let's see. So this little guy down, okay. So this is Z234-328. It is an application for 1, a IM Industrial Manufacturer District, and 2, a Pacific Use Permit for a industrial outside potentially incompatible industrial use limited to a concrete and asphalt batching. It's located on the northeast corner of Swanger Road and Manana Drive. It is approximately 4.35 acres and is in Council District 6. Here's the location of the property within city boundaries. The purpose of the request is to rezone the property to allow for the operation of an industrial outside, potentially incompatible industrial use limited to concrete and asphalt batching, which is allowed by SUP only. Here is an area map of the property. Here is the zoning map. The zoning map shows some industrial uses to the west of the property. Also to the south of the property, there's a batch plant. To the east of the property, there's industrial outside use that also has, that's for wood processing and lumber processing. Up to the north of the property, there's another industrial outside use, and then also to the north of the property, there's a public park, which is a soccer field that I think the city owns. As you know, in the zoning map, the area with the to the north with the industrial outside and my property, the area request is actually zoned for industrial research and not IM. I thought I had some background history here, but I'll go over it. So since the new code amendment, I think since 2022 maybe, I don't know if I have my dates right, potential incompatible use is only allowed in IM with a SUP, so that's why we're asking for the zoning change. So here's some site visits. This is looking northwest, northeast. This is looking east on Manana. south on Manana, west. This is looking west. This is looking at the corner of Spangler and Manana. This is looking north on Spangler, south on Spangler. These are the surrounding properties that I took a picture of. A lot of them are district uses, and then also the entry of the park. So this is north of the site. I think this is right adjacent to that park. This is that park that I stated about earlier. This is another industrial use that is northwest of the site. South to the site, this is the other batch plant that I stated earlier. So for the proposed plat conditions, plat conditions, I'm thinking about permanent. For the SUP conditions, what we did, we went in and tried to mitigate some of the dust, because I know that was a main concern in the area. So we do have a landscape buffer that's required at Spangler and Manana Road. We also have a solid fence that we're asking the applicant to put to the north of the property to kind of protect that industrial outside use and also that public park. As far as raw material, we decided to go in and ask them to also screen that. That way dust won't pick up any particles and blow those onto adjacent property. And also there is dust control that they have to submit. There's a list of items that they need to submit before they get their certificate of occupancy. I'm not going to say that because we don't have a date, but within the framework of getting a certificate of occupancy, they do have to give these regulations to the Environmental Department and also to Development Service. Here is the site plan for the SUP. It's actually showing the batching area. This will be a smaller batch plant, about 3,000 square feet. And then as you see the two side bins is north and south of the batching area. Those areas should be covered and contained with screening. As far as the Trinity River Corridor Comprehensive Plan, I did look into it. This project is not in study 22, but it is north of that study. And that study does state that heavy industrial uses in the area should be able to be maintained and expand. So as of now, we have approval for a 5-year subject to site plan and conditions. This would be a new operator. We thought that it would be good to give them a 5-year period. That way they can come back in front of CPC and council to see if they're in good standard within their 5 years. They also have to obtain a TCEQ permit, and that permit also helps regulate a lot of the environmental issues in the area. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Questions? Commissioner Carpenter?
Ms. Blue, what is the distance separating the northern boundary of this site from the MoneyGram Soccer Park? Do you know?
I think it's around, I want to say maybe 500 feet or so. It might be more than that.
Okay. Are you aware there's other park property in the immediate area to the south and to the west?
I know about the one to the west, the golf field, but I don't know anything about the one to the south.
Yeah, I believe it's property they haven't developed yet. But
Okay.
Anyway, thank you.
Commissioner Hall?
Ms. Blue, is the site currently covered with a concrete pad?
Yes, sir. And so the applicant decided to leave that concrete pad. So usually for a batch plant, we try to put in do a landscape plan, but since the concrete is already existing, I talked to the arborist and we decided to have them actually place the buffer, place the buffer on the site plan that we have existing. That way, because no landscape is actually going to be triggered. So in order to cover, to make sure the buffer is there, we actually put it in the language and then also put it on the site plan, just some additional information. But yes, that concrete is already there.
So this batch plant would sort of be in the character of the neighborhood because there's already one batch plant to the south.
And then there's one to the north.
One to the north and then to that.
Yeah, and then to the west across the train track, there's a few batch plants too on Luna Street.
And then to the east is that recycling mulch plant.
The wood. Yes, sir.
So this whole area is sort of
industrial.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. You just happen to have that soccer park to the north, but okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Kingston?
So is it staff's opinion that because we already have batch plants and other industrial uses like that in the area, we should just go ahead and put some more there?
No, staff has their, I mean, it's subjective. Staff can say however they feel. I mean, not staff, I'm sorry. I'm sticking to commissioners. I'm getting nervous here. Staff was thinking that since there's already industrial uses in the area, I don't see why not to allow a new industrial use in, as long as we put conditions in to help mitigate the dust and environmental air quality, because that was the main concern for these industrial uses.
I see.
Any other questions on this item, commissioners? Okay. We'll go to number 15. Do we need 15 briefed? Okay. 16 is going to be held under advisement until, you told me and I forgot, Commissioner. April 10th. Okay, we'll hold that one until then, April 10th. Number 17, we will table for the moment. We'll go to number 18. Do we need number 18 briefed? Yes, okay, let's go ahead and brief it.
Okay, and y'all are seeing the right one. All right, just making sure. Okay, let me move this window. Okay, number 18 is Z245-110. Why isn't it going? Okay, sorry, there's a delay. It's an application for an SUP for a government installation other than listed, limited to a police facility on property zoned MU3 Mixed Use District. It's located on the south line of Fondren, west of Greenville. It's about a third of an acre, and the applicant wants to remodel the existing building for a police facility for the University Park Police Department. It is not advancing. There we go. So here it is in relation to the city, really close to University Park. The aerial views on your left, and the zoning map and some land uses are on the right. So it's currently in the MU3 zoning district, and so are all the surrounding land uses. To the west is the city of University Park, where they have an elevated water storage tower and other municipal uses. There's a catering bakery in the city of Dallas to the north. I think it's an Office Shore Warehouse land use. And there's a drive-through restaurant directly across the street. And then to the east is that Lights Fantastic Office Shore Warehouse use. And then there's an office complex directly to the south. And let's see, here's some site photos. So there's just one. It's this building right here that's very darkly painted. It's been vacant for a while, since COVID is what some neighbors have said. So to the northeast, we have the drive-through restaurant. This is at Lights Fantastic. There's a parking lot. The wall that you see on the far right is the subject site. This is the office park from the northbound Greenville. This is the elevated water storage tower to the west. This is that catering, bakery, office showroom warehouse facility. This is the proposed site plan. It's pretty much all, it's almost 100% lot coverage. They don't have any compliant off-street parking spaces. They have some on-street spaces. In the previous land use, they're required 10 parking spaces according to their CO. So they're asking that the parking requirements of the SUP also require 10 spaces so that they don't lose any Delta credits. And staff's recommendation is approval, and it's for a permanent period, subject to a site plan and conditions.
Thank you very much. Questions, Commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Sleeper.
Ms. May, these are all very benign uses around there. It looks like hard to tell anything's going on there right now. Do you have any idea what they plan to do with this? I mean, what will this police facility consist of? Will they be doing anything outdoors, or will everything be contained within the walls of that building?
Right. So for the land use, everything would be inside. The only thing that is outside is those few parking spaces, and I think there might be a little space in the very far south, but not much room for anything. So yes, everything looks to be, that would be inside.
Okay, so you don't anticipate any SWAT drills or anything of that nature, mostly just administrative type offices?
I mean, maybe indoor SWAT drills since it's a police facility. But, I imagine they probably have some areas that they would anticipate having some physical, training things going on, some office administrative things, probably some classroom type, lecture spaces. That's what I would expect them to have in a training facility.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Ms. May, I believe we got an email expressing some concern that there could be some shooting range activity at this site. That would not be possible with this particular.
I mean, I think it could be possible.
They could be doing outside shooting at this.
Oh, maybe not outside shooting.
Yes.
But maybe indoor shooting. Like a gun range.
What
for
would outdoor
training?
shooting fall? What land use would that fall into?
Wow.
Is that a commercial amusement? I don't have any idea. I never thought about it before.
I think we do have some land uses with some outdoor shooting ranges. Might be commercial amusement outside.
Okay.
When they're commercial, this obviously would only be limited to police department facility.
But no shooting outside as far as you know?
Yeah, hopefully not.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hall, followed by Commissioner Kingston.
Ms. May, could the property immediately to the west where the water tower is part of University Park city limits?
Yes.
So I guess theoretically they could use that lot for parking?
Yes.
Okay. That remains to be seen, but it looks like there's plenty of spaces there for them to park.
I assume they can make room for their police officers however they need to.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Kingston.
What's the facility used for currently?
It's vacant currently, but the previous occupant was a CrossFit gym that was there.
And we could put limitations on the SUP in terms of hours of operation, right?
We could.
We could put limitations on the SUP that disallows the use of the facility as a shooting range indoor, right?
If you found land use rationale, yes.
And we could put limitations on the SUP that prohibits them from using it as a training facility on the outside of the facility, right?
I suppose, yes.
Did you ask the University Park what they intended to use it for?
I asked the representative who said in their land use statement that they were using it for a police training facility.
Did you ask them what hours of operation they intended to use it?
I didn't really find it too relevant in the middle of a mixed-use district.
Well, it's not very far at all from one of our trails, right?
Trails?
Yeah.
It's next to a DART rail line.
And one of our trails.
Okay.
And a mid-rise apartment building and a grocery store. I mean, this is a place where people live, work, play. And you didn't ask what they plan to do here?
I mean, I figured having a police facility might be nice in all hours of the day.
Not everyone might feel that way, especially if they're using it for weapons training, right?
I mean, I don't think they will be doing weapons training 24/7, but it would be occupied by the police department.
But we don't know that because we didn't ask.
Didn't ask how many hours they plan to shoot guns inside?
Right.
That was not necessarily part of the land use of this facility.
So we don't really have any idea what they plan to use this for other than quote-unquote police training.
That was specific enough for our purposes.
All right. Thank you.
Cases on consent. Okay, we'll take it off consent. It takes us to number 19. I think we have briefed it before, is that right? Have we briefed 19 before?
24?
We did, right? Do we want to do updates? Any changes? No? 19.
Sorry, I was muted, Chair. But yes, it's been briefed before, and there hasn't been any changes, but I do have the presentation if it needs to be briefed again.
Oh, okay. Let's brief the changes, please.
No, there are no changes. but
No
I can
changes,
Brief it
okay.
again if needed.
Okay. Any questions on this item, commissioners? Okay. 20 is brief by request. Okay, takes us to 21. Let's go ahead and brief 21. Thought you were getting away.
Yeah. Okay, let's see if I can do this again. Share content. Okay. 21. Okay, getting faster at this, I hope. All right, so number 21 is the 245-109. It's an application for an SUP for a private recreation center club or area on property located in an NSA neighborhood service district. It's on the west line of Marsh Lane, south of Monet Place. It's just under an acre, and the applicant wants to develop the property with an indoor pickleball facility. So it's here on the very northern portion of far north Dallas. It's this, let's see. Okay, this is the zoning map. It's this area, if my mouse will work, right here. And to the north, we have a duplex district. Further north is an R75 district. This park over here to the northeast is a TH2. There's a church here to the east in CR. And there's I think a gas station further to the south here. This SUP is also a gas station, and this is a retail shopping center here directly to the south. This is an animal shelter with outdoor runs in the CS district with deed restrictions and an SUP. And then there's a multifamily district to the west. Here is the site's aerial photograph. So here's all those land uses again. Again, it's undeveloped. And one thing that is kind of important to point out is that this lot has this little peninsula that extends along Monet Place to Marsh Lane. So the subject site's not technically a corner lot and does not have any frontage on Monet Place. So for the site photos, this is a site from Marsh. You'll see there's a retaining wall and the ground is elevated a few feet from the roadway. The apartment's in the back. As you can see from that photo, this is kind of looking at Marsh Lane. You'll see that it's a divided thoroughfare, 3 lanes each way. The median opening is to Monet Place, which leads to the duplex community. And this is on Marsh Lane, looking at the site, which is on the other side of this subdivision sign. Again, this property, this little strip of property right here is part of the duplex lot, and their lot is approximately on the other side of the sign. Surrounding land uses is the duplex community to the north. It's primarily 1-story duplexes. Just some examples right here. This big grassy area is abutting the site over here, so the trees are in the background of the subject site. This is a picture of the church and the church parking lot on the other side of Marsh Lane to the east. We have the retail facility to the south, and on this bottom picture, I was just showing that the site is pretty connected to this facility. They have some parking spaces that are currently constructed that abut the bounding property line. This is the apartment complex to the west. Sorry, I guess I also want to mention they have a row of parking and a fence that would abut where the pickleball facility here is on that far left. This is the proposed site plan. They have one entrance on Marsh Lane as per the last site plan that I received. There was some, I think, community discussions asking if they can perhaps share a driveway with the retail use to the south. I have not heard from the applicant how that has gone, but that's been a discussion, I think, amongst the community members. So I think the applicant's planning on joining us, so maybe he can tell us how that's going. Let's see, I think yes, I did enlarge it a little bit. So the facility is here on the left. It's all indoors. We have a SUP condition to say that all recreational activities must occur indoors. So they're not going to be able to do, any sort of pickleball game in the parking lot or anything like that. Everything has to happen indoors. Yes, and so also just pointing out, this is that abutting property line here. Because this property line is shared with the residential use next door, they must have a residential adjacency buffer both on the north and on the west. It has to be an average of 20 feet, no, average of 10 feet, minimum of 5, maximum of 30, I think is what our arborist said. They added a pedestrian connection from the sidewalk over here in case, people are using Marsh or visiting the park across the street or coming from the church. And also, it was just something we were trying to encourage so that people maybe parking over here could get into or avoid traffic in the parking lot. Let's see, anything else notable? They also are required to have a screening fence, a solid screening fence per code, not particularly just by the SUP, but the code requires that non-residential uses that abut residential properties provide a solid screening fence for the parking, and I think it's also a requirement of the landscape buffer. So that would be on the north and on the west, just per code, regardless of the SUP. And let's see, that's about it. Oh yeah, they had a table in case we want to talk about any of this. They have 7 pickleball courts. Is what they're planning, they would like to propose. And they have 36 parking spaces drawn on the site plan. And yep. So staff's recommendation is approval for a 5-year period with eligibility for automatic renewals for additional 10-year periods. This seemed to be consistent with previous private recreational facilities, which are kind of few and far between, but being as that it's a recreational facility for the community, we thought that would be appropriate and subject to site plan and conditions.
Thank you very much. Questions?
Hi, this is Commissioner.
Please.
Parker. Quick question. Ms. May, could you go back to the table that you just showed with parking? I just want to put a fine point on that. So will you talk a little bit about what's required and what is actually being provided?
Mm-hmm. Can I say what's required and what's being provided?
Yes.
So when an SUP is not required, the code says that there shall be 3 off-street parking spaces per court or game court, I think is what it says. And for the areas outside of the courts, it needs one space for every 150 square feet outside of the playing areas. So they, in their table here, they discounted themselves the common space, which is not how we normally do it in Dallas. So although they're saying 24 here, if an SUP was not required, I think I calculated 32 would be required if it was allowed by right. But since an SUP is required, the code does allow for flexibility in the parking requirements.
So based on that, the parking requirements that are shown here, the 36 spaces meets the requirements, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If it was allowed by right, they would be compliant with minimum off-street parking requirements.
Great. And then another question for you. What is the maximum height of a building allowed of this type?
I can't remember what the NS district allows off the top of my head. It's not very tall, I want to, but the really restrictive parameter here is residential proximity slope, which would project from or originate from the, let me go back one, would project from this property line, would be the closest. So it would go up and over at a slope of 1 foot in height for every 3 feet in distance. And so that generally takes you 78 feet to be able to go beyond the permissible 26 feet in height. And so since this frontage is 137 feet from here to here, 78 feet might be about here. So I'm assuming they would want a flat roof, and so the whole building would be a maximum of 26 feet, is probably how this would get constructed based on residential proximity slope.
Okay, and do you happen to know how tall that building is?
I don't. Let's see if they put it on here. They did not. They did not specify.
Sarah,
Okay.
While Sarah's looking for that, I was just going to clarify to help Sarah out that for a flat roof in NS, it's a maximum of 30 feet.
Oh, yes, maximum of 30 feet. And I think the duplex district to the north, the maximum height in duplex is 36 feet. So this is actually a lower height than what's allowed in the residential community to the north.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Forsyth.
Is there any setback requirements for the southern end of this building? It looks like it's right on the property line.
Good question. So there's a 20-foot setback when you're adjacent to residential zoning, but no side or rear yard setback if you're not abutting residential zoning. So it's NS. Actually, I think this portion that right here is actually zone CS. And this portion over here is the same zoning as the subject site, which is NS. Neighborhood services.
Commissioner Hall.
Ms. May, we got an email or two from some people who live in LTNA. NA, I assume, means Neighborhood Association. Do you know what LTNA is or where this association is located?
It's the duplex community to the north.
It's the duplex community immediately to the north.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I think they were concerned about character of the neighborhood sort of thing. But looking at this site, you have apartments to the west. You have commercial immediately to the south. You're at the intersection of Marsh Lane and the toll road. And then across the street, there's a church. There's a bunch of wooded land across the street. Is that you referred to that as a park?
Mm-hmm.
Is that an official city park or is it just undeveloped?
I don't know if it's programmed by the Parks Department, but I believe it is owned by the city of Dallas.
It is owned by the city, but it's not, I mean,
I'm not
looking
sure.
at Google Maps, I don't see any apparent facilities there or
I
trails.
saw some map somewhere. It may have been our internal map, but it called it Rosemead Park.
Oh, okay.
But
so
I'm
it
not
may
sure
be.
if it has any.
And they were going to put like a sidewalk access or something that would allow people in the park to walk over or something like that.
Perhaps, yeah. And also, I don't have a slide that shows this, but there's also some schools further to the west on the other side of this apartment community.
Mm-hmm. So this is not actually smack in the middle of residential. I mean, there's multiple uses surrounding this on at least two sides, multifamily on one and duplex on the other.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to do that one since it's at least outlined.
Any other questions on this item, commissioners? Okay, we'll go to number 22. Let's brief that one. Good morning and welcome back.
Thank you. Good morning. Okay, item 22 is case Z234-229. The request is an application for 1, an MU3 mixed-use district, and 2, deed restrictions volunteered by the applicant on property zones subdistrict C and subdistrict D within plan development number 852 and RR Regional Retail District. It is located on the northeast and northwest corners of Dallas North Tollway and President George Bush Turnpike. It's approximately 19.345 acres. And this is the location, so it's all the way to the north along the city of Plano city limits. This is the aerial map. And then zoning maps, the surrounding areas towards the north, as I mentioned, is the city of Plano and agriculture district. Towards the east is light industrial and city of Plano, and then towards the south is light industrial, MU2 and PD 852, Suburbia A and B. And then towards the west is PD 165. There's gasoline station office multifamily towards the north, railroad tracks as well, and multifamily towards the east and south. And there's also undeveloped towards the south. The area request is currently undeveloped and is within Plan Development District 852, which was approved by City Council on June 22, 2011. And it's also Regional Retail District. So under Plan Development District 852, uses are limited to those main uses permitted in the MO Mid-Range Office District. And then there's also some certain commercial uses that are prohibited. And then the applicant is proposing to develop the site with a mixed-use development. Therefore, they are proposing an MU3 mixed-use district. And they have also volunteered did restrictions that would prohibit multifamily use. As these are some of the site photos. On-site looking east. Looking east. And this is looking east. Looking south. Looking west. And this is a property on the west side of the Dallas Tollway. Looking west. And then these are some surrounding uses. Looking northeast. Looking south. Looking northeast. Looking northwest. Then looking north. And then the development standards. So as I mentioned, the existing is PD 852 and RR, and they are proposing an MU3. And then the applicant, as I mentioned, has volunteered did restrictions. The following uses will be prohibited, which is multifamily. And then staff recommendation is denial. However, I do want to let you guys know, staff recommendation could have gone either way. However, because the application was submitted prior to the Forward Dallas 2.0 adoption, staff analysis was done with Forward Dallas 1, which is the prior, and the request did not align with the land use goals and policies of the plan. Staff believe that the orientation and location of the property is not suitable for any type of residential development. This is including the retirement housing that they are proposing. There were concerns for residential pedestrian safety, walkability, and quality of life because the area of the request is directly adjacent to two major highways and their shared interchange. So that is why staff recommendation is denial.
Questions? Commissioner Sleeper.
I couldn't really understand the last little part that you said, but did you say that the applicant was seeking to do multifamily on the site?
No, they are volunteering deed restrictions to prohibit multifamily. What they are, they mentioned that they are proposing is retirement housing.
Retirement house, okay. And why would you recommend against that that use on this site?
So staff recommended denial, as I mentioned, because it's believed that the orientation and the location of the property is not suitable for any type of residential, and that is including retirement housing. There were concerns for residential pedestrian safety, as it is aligned with two main highways. So we are concerned with the safety of walkability for the residents that if the retirement housing was proposed there, and then also the quality of life. It is adjacent to two major highways, and the noise coming from it, there wouldn't be any buffer between.
So I wouldn't think that the walkability, the pedestrian safety issue would be a huge issue for a retirement center. Am I missing something there? Or are you anticipating that these would be particularly retirement people that are active pedestrian people? Or I'm not really sure I understand the compatibility of that suggestion.
Yeah, well, I have done previous, where they have done retirement and they have included walkability for their retirement. I know most of them may not walk as much, but we still, because it is considered residential, we did wanted to go with the policy of what was the comprehensive plan before, which was making the residential properties more walkable and closer to areas that are for walkability.
Thank you.
Commissioner Turnock.
I have a question. So just south of this site, down the highway a little bit farther south, there's almost an identical condition at the intersection of the tollway and 635. Kind of can give you an insight as to how an intersection like this, or a crossroads, so to speak, of like this could be developed. You know, right here we're just looking at vacant land. And at that crossroad of 635 and the tollway, we have multifamily in one quadrant. We have like a hotel use in another quadrant. We have single family in one of the quadrants, and then some commercial. So clearly the market doesn't agree that this is unsafe. I mean, there's people that have chosen to rent, there's people that have chosen to buy, there's people that have chosen to come and stay at a hotel that have near identical site conditions to this, and presumably, because it's south and closer to the urban core, even higher density. So my question is, that being the case, how does the staff approach that to make the executive call, so to speak, to say it's not conducive to public safety, for instance, and a couple of the other talking points that you had cited?
So how I cited was that the access to the site as well, that was one of the main concerns, because along the north side, there's the railroad tracks. So again, like how is it going to connect towards the north properties? And then because there are two corners, how are they going to be connecting, and the access as well? That was one of the main issues. And as I mentioned, because this application was submitted prior to the adoption of Forward Dallas 2.0, I was basing it on the land use elements, policies and goals of the previous. But if it had been, if the application had come in now, it would have been with the Forward Dallas 2.0, and one of the place types for that area that Dallas 2.0 states is a mixed-use city residential.
Commissioner Hawk.
Actually, Ms. Garza just addressed my question, which was around the place type city residential, and if that place type were available when she was reviewing, would it have been, would the recommendation would have changed? It sounds like the recommendation would have changed, but she just addressed it.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Garza.
Thank you. Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. You know, looking at this site on three quadrants, multifamily, so there's obviously a lot of people living in the vicinity. The applicant sent us a message pointing out a similar development at Northwest Highway and Central Expressway called Ventana. which I'm very familiar with because it's sort of around the corner from where we live. But Ventana is even more tucked into that intersection than what would be going in here. So the city has granted permission to be at these very busy intersections. Ventana is the twin mid-rise towers of 55 plus, and it's a quite expensive place to live. So yeah, I have a little bit of problem understanding why denial here when there's some similar things already has been developed in Dallas. But maybe that's a discussion for this afternoon. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item, Commissioners? Mr. Rubin.
Yeah, any idea why there's a deed restriction on multifamily, and is staff supportive of that deed restriction?
So I believe this was something that came up when they had neighborhood meetings. I'm not too sure. That is just something that the applicant had mentioned that they wanted to do. No, our recommendation was denial, so it would have been the whole entire mixed use of residential into it. But as I mentioned, if the application had come in now with the 2.0, the place type that is recommended there is of city residential.
And assuming it had come in after Forward Dallas 2.0, would staff support the no multifamily deed restriction?
No, we would support that it would stay as a use.
Okay. And are we allowed to decline deed restrictions that are offered by the applicant in approving a case?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Hawk.
No question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioners? Okay, let's go back and pick up the D7 cases. Do we need number 5 briefed?
You could brief that one, and it can stay on consent.
We did do this one, apologies. There was another one, number 7. Number 7 come off consent. We didn't brief that one, did we? Do we need it briefed? Number 7? Okay, no, unless anybody has,
Five have to be on, I mean, it's on consent, it can stay on consent.
stay on consent. 7 will come off consent, but unless someone wants it briefed.
And just a question, well, and I was going to ask Commissioner Wheeler, I believe there was updates on item 7, is that correct, from a community meeting that was held yesterday?
Yeah, it was a community meeting. It seems like that them and the FRI has come to.
Right, did staff have any update from that? Or I know it just happened last night, so our.
Let's brief it.
That's part of the reason.
Let's brief it.
That's part of the reason why it came off consent too.
We'll do a briefing on that one.
I can bring up the presentation, but I do not have anything from the meeting that happened yesterday.
Okay, it's okay. We'll just go ahead and brief it, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, can I ask them? So maybe we need to hold it on advisement to the next meeting? Yeah, I think so, because we didn't get any, they've been going back and forth for 2 months, so we need to hold it.
Would you like to hold it? Okay.
Need to hold it.
Then we will hold it to
The next meeting,
March 6th.
Yeah, me and Commissioner Hampton needs to speak with FRI and the applicant to see what was that agreement.
Okay, so we'll take that one off consent, hold it under advisement to March 6th. We will brief it then. Pardon me, March 6th. Yeah, number 7 held to March 6th. Did I miss any other ones? 17.
Yeah, 17, they didn't get back to me on what is a residential transition sub-district. I've never heard of that. I sent them.
Are we going to hold that one, or?
We need, I need to be advised because I don't know what a residential transition sub-district is. Yeah, let's brief it.
Okay, let's brief it. Ms. May? Okay, we'll brief it before we hear it. Then we'll take it off consent. Ms. May, is it Board of Adjustment? So we'll brief that one before we hear it. Do we have any others that we missed? I think that was it. Did we miss any others? We didn't. How about the signs briefing per request? Any request to brief the signs? Okay. Okay, well then that concludes the briefing of the Dallas City Planning Commission. Commissioners, it's 11:43 a.m. Enjoy your lunch. We'll see you back at 12:30 for the hearing.